Title 1: The Greenfield Papyrus and the Immortal Legacy of Nesi. Peace. The Greenfield Papyrus is among the longest and most complete ancient Egyptian funerary scrolls ever discovered, preserved today in the British Museum. Measuring over 37 meters in length, it is not merely an artifact, but a declaration of spiritual sovereignty. It was created for Princess Nesi, daughter of High Priest Painakem II and Nesi Kensu, around 970 BC, during the transitionary phase of Egypt's late New Kingdom to the Third Intermediate Period. Nesi was not an ordinary figure. She was born directly into theocratic royalty at Thebes, the spiritual capital of Egypt. Her father, Painakem II, was not only the high priest of Amun, but effectively the ruler of Upper Egypt, holding absolute command over the temple estates and military power in the south. His influence extended beyond priesthood into the governance of the land, a pharaoh in all but title during this fragmented era. Her mother, Nesi Kensu, bore titles that reflect the sacred synthesis of state and spirituality. As divine adoratress of Amun, Nesi Kensu embodied the living vessel of the goddess Mut, the consort of Amun-Ra himself. Her position was pivotal in religious ceremonies that secured the fertility of the Nile and the prosperity of the nation. Princess Nesi inherited this immense spiritual responsibility. She became a priestess of Amun-Ra, the chief deity whose cult dominated Theban life. In this role, Nesi administered temple rituals, orchestrated festivals such as the Opet and Beautiful Feast of the Valley, and led the invocation of oracles. The priestesshood was no mere ceremonial post. It was an axis of political power, economic control, and divine intercession. The creation of her funerary papyrus was a monumental project. Scribes, draftsmen, and priests collaborated to ensure every spell of the Book of the Dead was meticulously inscribed. The Greenfield Papyrus contains over 190 vignettes and texts aimed at guiding Nesi safely through the perils of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. Every symbol, from the scarab beetles to the weighing of the heart ceremony, was a coded guarantee of her rebirth and immortality. This document was not only for the princess's benefit, but also a statement of dynastic power. At a time when Egypt was fractured between the authority of the high priests at Thebes and the weakened pharaohs in the north, Nesi papyrus asserted that Theban theology and royal lineage still commanded the mandate of the gods. In a practical sense, the scroll was a political manifesto in religious form, ensuring the continuity of her bloodline and the sanctity of her house. Her embalming and mummification were carried out with the utmost precision. Resins imported from Punt and the Levant were used to anoint her body, while amulets were placed strategically to protect her vital spiritual energies. Among these amulets, the heart scarab stands out, inscribed with spells to silence her heart from testifying against her during judgment before Osiris. The grandeur of Nesi burial reflects the enduring prominence of her family. She was interred in Deir el-Bahari, the necropolis of Egypt's most powerful elite. Painakem II himself was buried in the same region, having transformed the priesthood of Amun into a hereditary dynasty. Under Painakem II's rule, Upper Egypt enjoyed relative stability amid national fragmentation. He consolidated religious wealth, fortified temple lands, and maintained defensive alliances with Nubian mercenaries and local Theban nobles. His governance ensured that Thebes remained a bastion of Egyptian cultural identity, even as foreign pressures and internal decay challenged national unity. Nesi legacy, therefore, is not limited to her role as a religious figure, but extends to the preservation of Egyptian tradition during an era of crisis. Her papyrus immortalizes not only her personal journey, but the enduring supremacy of Amun's priesthood and the resilience of the Theban line. The Greenfield Papyrus survives today as a masterwork of ancient Egyptian theology, royal ambition, and artistic craftsmanship. It is a direct transmission from an age when spiritual power and temporal authority were inseparably entwined. Through this scroll, Nesi continues to speak across millennia, her voice carrying the prayers and power of her dynasty. Title 2: Painakem II, Theban Supremacy, and the Priestess Princess of Divine Ascent. The rise of Painakem II as High Priest of Amun marks a pivotal chapter in Egypt's Third Intermediate Period. In a time of waning central authority, Painakum II wielded both the crook of religious command and the scepter of political dominance. By controlling the immense wealth of the Amun temples, he effectively governed Upper Egypt, steering the region through the turbulence of dynastic fragmentation. Painakum II understood the power of divine legitimacy. He orchestrated elaborate rituals at Karnak Temple, reinforcing Amun's supremacy as king of the gods. He also ensured his family's continuation in religious offices, establishing a hereditary theocracy. His children, including Nesi Tashru, were groomed not only as ritual participants, but as custodians of national heritage. Nesi Tashru's investiture as a priestess of Amun-Ra was a deliberate act of dynastic fortification. Her role extended beyond temple ceremonies. She was an intermediary between the divine and mortal realms, entrusted with safeguarding the cosmic order, Ma'at. In practical terms, this meant influencing agricultural blessings, judicial decisions, and military endeavors. The presence of a royal princess in the temple complex was a visible assertion of divine favor upon her lineage. Her funerary preparations were commenced well in advance of her passing, following a tradition reserved for the elite. The Greenfield Papyrus, commissioned by her father, was intended to be a passport to eternity, containing spells such as 125, the famous negative confession, where the deceased declares innocence of 42 sins before the divine tribunal. The scroll's depictions of celestial barges, protective deities, and judgment scenes were not mere artistic flourishes, but codified assertions of her purity, divine endorsement, and right to eternal life. These illustrations paralleled temple reliefs found at Karnak and Luxor, reinforcing the unbroken thread of Theban theological supremacy. Painakum II's rule was marked by astute diplomacy. He maintained alliances with the Nubians to the south, recognizing their critical role in controlling trade routes and military support. The influx of exotic goods, such as incense, gold, and rare woods, enriched the temple coffers, allowing for grand religious festivals that bound the populace to the priesthood's leadership. Through his daughter, Painakum II projected his legacy into the afterlife. Nesi Tashru's burial was a state ceremony, attended by high officials, temple priests, and military commanders. Her interment was accompanied by lavish offerings, including faience beads, alabaster vessels, and finely crafted canopic jars. Her tomb inscriptions emphasize her titles: Sole Ornament of Amun, Chantress of the Karnak Temple, and Beloved of the Hidden One. Each epithet underscored her multifaceted role as a spiritual leader, dynastic symbol, and cultural beacon. The Greenfield Papyrus serves as the final chapter in her earthly journey, but the prologue to her eternal one. It captures the theological depth and political astuteness of her era. The scroll's meticulous composition reflects the scholarly rigor of the Theban scribes, who synthesized millennia of religious tradition into a coherent guide for the afterlife. The legacy of Nesi Tashru and her family did not vanish with her interment. Subsequent generations of Theban priests and rulers drew inspiration from her example, preserving Amun's cult well into the late periods of Egyptian history. Her papyrus became a template for funerary practices, its iconography replicated in later burials as a mark of elite status. Today, as the Greenfield Papyrus rests in the British Museum, it continues to radiate the authority and grandeur of Theban civilization. Nesi Tashru's life and death encapsulate the enduring vitality of ancient Egypt's spiritual and political heart. Her journey from priestess-princess to immortalized guardian of Ma'at is a testament to the resilience of a culture that refused to fade into obscurity. Kindly click like, subscribe, and share this channel.